Okay, so I get it. You've been praying and praying. You're like, God, can you even hear me? Universe, do you even understand what I'm saying? By the end of this video, you will learn how to tap into the answers of that which you've been praying for, and not only how to just tap into those answers, but how to always hear God whenever you need it. Let's get to it. Okay, so the very first thing you want to understand is simple frequency. Now hear me out, because I know this might sound really weird to a lot of you, but praying to God, praying to the universe is actually very scientific. Reason being is everything breaks down to frequency. So it doesn't matter if you hate science and you're super spiritual, everything breaks down to frequency. So God, the universe, your angels, everything breaks down to frequency. So with that being said, we want to understand how first we receive frequency and how we can even pick it up. So the best way I could explain it is to explain how a radio signal picks up music. And so if we take a look at it, first just ignore these two things right here because we're going to talk about them in a second. But if we take a look at a line, this is going to represent merely nothing. This line represents no noise whatsoever. And in order for any noise to be made, whether it be like the refrigerator humming, a bird chirping, me talking, something like that, what happens to this line is it is raised up into the ether. It's raised into the ether, and then in order for say music to be picked up by a radio signal, this could be the music that is then raised up into the ether, and then it is transmitted out, and then to anything that is picking up, say, I'm a really bad drawer, and everyone always says that every time they draw something, but say this is the radio signal, or radio tower, and then it raises up to that frequency so it can get the signal that is being emitted at that level. So if this is making sense so far, comment juice. If not, let me know so I can explain it further for you, because this is absolutely crucial for you to understand anything else of what I'm about to say. So when we go back and we understand this, in order for any sound to be made, something has to be raised up into the ether. And in order for something to be picked up, it also has to be raised up receiving that. We want to understand, first, how does anything... We want to understand the frequency that God is on, right? Because if God, the universe, is that which we're trying to talk to, we want to understand what frequency is that on so then we can match it, right? So God, anything that is like an angel or higher being, they're of that of a very high frequency. So we want to take a look at the frequency chart, right? So God would be way up here, right? He'd be at the top of the frequency chart. And then depending on where you are at, whatever frequency you are emitting at, simply depends on whatever you are vibrating at. So if we take a look at this chart for simplicity terms, I just wrote positive going up and negative going down. If you guys want me to make a video on what specifically emotion is at each level, I can. But just know the more positive emotion you are, the higher of a frequency you are in, and the more negative, the more lower of a emotion you are in, the lower of a frequency that you are actually picking up on. So in order to speak to God, in order to receive messages from the universe, we need to be in a high frequency in order for our own personal radio station to pick up that which was being released into the ether. So with that being said, we want to now take a look over to the brain waves. Now there are multiple brain waves that the human has, but just for simplicity terms, all we really kind of want to go over right now is just these four. And so if we look at the four, we have beta, alpha, theta, and delta. You don't necessarily need to know what all of them mean and all that stuff. All you want to know about this for the sake of receiving answers for the universe is understanding what brain waves are operating at the higher levels. Because if we want to be vibrating at a frequency that is like a radio station that can pick up in the ether that God is putting out, we want to be in a high frequency. So what brain waves do we need to be in order to be in a high frequency? So rule of thumb, the slower the brain wave is, the easier it is for you to talk to infinite intelligence. So if we look at beta, you're not going to receive it. Beta is something that it's critical thinking. Usually, if you actually spend too much time in beta mode, you actually become depressed. So it's actually one of those of a more of a lower brainwave. And then if we go to alpha, I actually wrote these lowest to highest, but when we are, lowest to highest, but when we are in delta, we're actually sleeping. So we may receive answers in our sleep, but we not remember them when we wake up. So the key really, in order to really maximize on receiving the messages, we want to be in theta brainwaves, because this is the slowest brainwave that we operate in whenever we are awake, other than delta. Now there are gamma brainwaves for those who are very much into this and know a lot. For the sake of this video, I'm making it very simple. We don't need to know about gamma brainwaves right now, but just for the sake of this, know that theta is something, whenever you are operating in theta brainwaves, you are able to then receive the answers, because when you are in theta brainwaves, you're doing things like meditation, you're feeling love, you're feeling peace. So that's why activities like meditation, doing something you love will release you into theta brainwaves. As long as you're not doing anything too critical thinking, to basically being in a low mode. Rule of thumb, you never want to be in a negative low vibration, and you don't want to be operating in theta, and you don't want to be operating in beta or alpha brainwaves. Because when you're operating in beta and alpha brainwaves, you literally cannot hear the answers. You are on a different frequency than what God is trying to receive, what God's trying to speak to you, what the universe is always trying to speak to you. The universe, God, can always hear you no matter what. It's just a matter of if you can actually transmit it, you can actually hear things like that. So in order to hear the message, we have to be in a frequency which is up here. We're in theta brainwaves. We're feeling things like love, joy, peace. We're doing things like meditation, playing with the animals, things that are going to allow us to be in theta brainwave state. If you guys would like me to make a video on activities you can do to get into theta brainwave state, I can let me know. I can do that. Just let me know in the comments. But another thing we want to take a look at too is, when most people pray, they're actually doing it from a place where they literally cannot receive the answers either. And God, the universe, created physics. They created the laws of the universe, like law of attraction, law of vibration, law of correspondence, which all state whatever we are putting out into the universe comes back to us. Whatever we are putting out, whatever we are internally embracing, we are going to perceive in our lives. So when we are praying from a place of fear, doubt, scarcity, those low vibrations, we're literally attracting that back out into our lives. We're literally training our minds and bodies to see that. And since we are in a place where we're trying to figure stuff out, we're not only in a negative emotion, but we're also trying to get answers, figure stuff out, which is critical thinking, which is trying to figure things out, which make you be in a beta brainwave state, which then again also will never allow you to raise up your frequency above a certain level. So most people, even when you go to church, most people are praying wrong. They're like, God, we hope that you do this and blah, 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 blah. And they're putting out words into the universe that they don't want. They're using words that they don't want more, like broke, or, they're praying about the things that they want to not happen, but they're putting it out there and they're attracting more of it to it. And then they're coming from a place where they're trying to figure it out, and they are in brainwaves that don't allow them to raise their frequency until they get out of those brainwaves. And they're also coming in a place that's fear, sadness, whatever. So in addition, I'm going to make a video on how to properly pray. And I know that sounds really weird. I almost don't even want to say that, because it sounds wrong. Who are you to tell someone how to pray? But it's going back to what I said in the beginning of this video. Everything is very scientific. It doesn't matter. Today, as much as I know about science, it's very hard to discuss the difference between what spirituality and science, because everything in spirituality is literally explained through science. It's the same thing. It's the same thing. And if you don't agree with that, you definitely want to go back and rewatch this video and understand that, because if you don't agree with that, no wonder you're having a hard time getting your answers from God, getting your answers from the universe. It all comes back down to frequency, and then frequency is on certain wavelengths. So we can break it down even further and be like, okay, what wavelengths do our brains operate us on that also allow us to be in a certain frequency that allow us to receive the answers? So like I said in the beginning of this video, some of the things you can do to raise your frequency to be in like a theta brainwave state is things like meditation, things like playing with your dog. I can make a whole big video on theta brainwave state. But meditation's key, because when you are in meditation, and it's something most people watching this video knows how to do, when you're in meditation, you're not only in theta brainwave state, but you're also in a quieted mind. So, disclaimer too, I also want to say, just because you meditate, you might not receive your answer right then and there, but if you just set the intention that you're going to get the answer, meditate, and then stay in that brainwave state, as long as you're in that receiving mode, as long as your radio, thing is accepting the frequency coming in, you will still hear. You don't have to be meditating, you just have to be in that brainwave state. But the reason why I say meditation is because you also have a silenced mind, and then you can hear things more clearly. So that is actually crucial. That is literally how you receive anything, whether it be music, whether it be a message from God, whether it be hearing someone else. It all breaks down to frequency. That's why we even have selective hearing. That's why dogs can hear whistles at different wavelengths. That's why animals can also do the same thing. Everything breaks down to frequency. So if you don't understand this, if you're not clear on anything, let me know in the comments. But if you like this video, make sure you give it a big fat thumbs up and share it with someone who could definitely use this information. If you haven't already, definitely subscribe with the bell notification, because I'm bringing weekly videos to you at the minimum. Usually have some bonus ones in there for you, bringing more information on this stuff and things you can do to transform your life using proven science. That being said, I love you guys so much. As always, dream big, live large, and be live. Bye.